Confirmation hearings are about to start for the top officials in Baltimore's police and fire departments. We are live at City Hall with the very latest.
Thousands of cars are being stolen, so how do victims get them back? We hear from victims who say having their vehicles stolen and returned is only the first step in fixing the problem.
Baltimore's population is on the decline, but the city keeps increasing its budget. New concerns over the number of employees at City Hall.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 4.
Breaking tonight, Fox 45 is tracking a large police presence near the Upton neighborhood. Baltimore Councilman Eric Costello tweeted that this is one of two shootings this afternoon. He says the second happened just blocks away from West Lafayette Avenue and Argyle Avenue. Fox 45 is on the scene. We'll update you on air and online as soon as we have more information. We're following three big stories tonight. A group of children accused in an armed carjacking, how the victim fought them off after they threatened her with a knife.
Plus, a closer look at the broader impact of the car theft crisis, why they're hurting people who've never even had their own vehicles stolen.
Key confirmation hearings tonight at City Hall. The Baltimore Police Commissioner and Baltimore Fire Department could soon have new leaders.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Mary Bubala.
I'm Kai Jackson. Fox 45's Keith Daniels is live at City Hall right now with the latest on the confirmation hearings for Acting Commissioner Richard Worley and Fire Chief James Wallace. Keith?
Well, Kai and Mary, both of those hearings are happening here at City Hall. Major decisions when it comes to public safety and the emergency response for our city. Now, when talking about Acting Police Commissioner Richard Worley, the recent uptick in juvenile crime in Baltimore is expected to be a topic of discussion at today's confirmation hearing. BPD's response to the Brooklyn Day mass shooting in July, which Worley has said was a failure, could also come up. Now, yesterday, the city's Board of Estimates put the brakes on new contracts for both Worley and Acting Fire Chief James Wallace. The city spending board will wait to vote on the contracts until after today's hearings. Mayor Brandon Scott addressing that decision.
We had a conversation with the council president and comptroller just as a move of us showing our commitment to transparency and our commitment to hearing our colleagues in government out. We decided to push this back until after the confirmation hearing, which will happen this weekend. We strongly believe and know that both of these gentlemen who are capable, who have relationships, who've been working in these departments in the city for a long time, will be officially nominated through the council process.
Now, according to the city's BOE, according to the city's comptroller's office, if the BOE had approved Worley's $285,000 contract yesterday and his nomination rejected today, he would have been entitled to a year's salary in severance. Meantime, that hearing is scheduled to kick off here today at 5 o'clock. We're live now at City Hall. Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
Keith, thank you. And as Keith mentioned, Worley's time as acting commissioner has already faced a number of challenges, including the Brooklyn Day shooting. 2 people were killed, another 28 injured when multiple people opened fire during the block party at the Brooklyn homes. In a City Hall hearing, one of the victims' mothers expressed her frustration with the police department's response.
Knowing that there were calls, endless calls for help, and no one showed up. Knowing that Foxtrot, I now know the name, a helicopter who's hundreds of feet in the air, will tell you as they look down from hundreds of feet in the air that everything looks normal. What's your normal? I challenge you, what is your normal?
Well, during multiple hearings, Worley told city council members his department ignored warning signs and could have done more to prevent the shootings.
That brings us to our question of the day. Do you blame leadership of police for the Brooklyn Day home shooting? To make your voice heard, go to foxbaltimore.com/vote.
Well, heavy rain is on the way. On the right side of your screen, you can see right now it is a lovely, beautiful fall day in Baltimore and in Towson. But on the left, a tropical storm system making its way up the coast toward the mid-Atlantic. This weekend, we could see multiple inches of rainfall here in Maryland. Meteorologist Jonathan Myers in now with the latest track of this storm. Jonathan?
Yeah, we were talking about the potential of this gaining some tropical or subtropical characteristics here off the coast of Florida and Georgia. And now we have newly formed potential tropical cyclone 16, which means that there's a good chance of this becoming a tropical depression or a subtropical depression and maybe even a subtropical storm. Take a look. This could be a pretty hefty storm system as we head into Friday. Friday night could have winds 50 miles an hour or so off the coast of the Carolinas. Makes a landfall somewhere right around the Outer Banks. About a 60-mile-an-hour tropical storm or subtropical storm. We'll call it kind of a mixture, a hybrid between a tropical and non-tropical system. And look at all the rain this could put down on your weekend plans, especially Saturday night, maybe an inch to 2, 3 inches of rain. There are also some coastal flood watches that are out. There could be winds, maybe 30, 40 miles an hour, as you see here, and then it eventually moves east by the end of the weekend into early next week. But again, we are tracking the system very, very closely. I'm going to let you know how long we could deal with these impacts and what you're going to see in your neighborhood in my Weather Authority forecast.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. Put the power of the Weather Authority Storm Center in your hands. Download the free WBFF Weather Authority app for your smartphone. Use our powerful Doppler radar to follow storms to your street. Go to your app store and search WBFF to get started.
We are following some breaking news as we learn an armed group of young people is accused of carjacking an Anne Arundel County woman. According to police, it started in a giant parking lot in Glen Burnie. The victim says a group of 4 to 5 boys approached her in the parking lot and demanded a ride to Baltimore. When she refused, they pulled out a knife, according to police, and pushed her into the car. Once they arrived in Baltimore, she pulled out her own knife to defend herself, and the kids ran off. Anybody with information should contact Baltimore police.
Now, the rise in car thefts is impacting communities across the state. This year, more than 7,700 cars have been stolen in Baltimore. The main targets, Hyundais and Kias. Between the 9th and the 16th of this month, 292 cars were taken. That's more than 41 thefts a day.
And even if your car is not stolen, you could end up feeling the impact. Experts say auto thefts are contributing to the nationwide rise in insurance rates. Alexa Ashwell here in studio with details on how these thefts are costing some drivers hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. Alexa?
Yes, Mary, there are many factors that go into just how much it would cost if your car is stolen, including the type of policy you have and your deductible. Let's start with where you live. On average, experts say it costs Baltimore City drivers about 10% more to have their car insured in the city compared to neighboring counties. Nationwide, experts say insurance rates are rising by upwards of 20%, mostly due to the increase in cost of living, but also due to this dramatic spike in auto thefts. Auto thefts have jumped more than 200% here in Baltimore City compared to this time last year. We spoke with a local insurance broker who warns having comprehensive coverage is the only way that car insurance reimburses you for an auto theft.
We are definitely seeing an increase in auto thefts over the past couple of years. Unfortunately, in a lot of cases, some of our clients do only have liability. So in those cases, they don't have coverage. Some of the time the vehicles are recovered. Other times the vehicles are involved in accidents or just never recovered.
So rates are going up. Only certain policies will cover an auto theft. And then, of course, there's still the deductible. We're going to break that down further, plus hear from some victims at 5. Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Thanks, Alexa. With nearly 8,000 cars stolen so far this year, question is, what happens to those cars and where do they end up once they're dumped by the thieves? Fox 45's Amy Simpson is investigating today. She joins us live with what she's learning. Amy?
Kai, there's really not a one-size-fits-all answer to those questions either. Some people say that stolen cars are used to commit other crimes. Others say that those cars are stolen and taken for a joyride until they run out of gas. And in some cases, the cars are dumped and end up in the city's impound lot. Rows upon rows of cars sit at the city's impound lot in East Baltimore. Vehicles only visible through the trees. From a ramp onto the interstate, it's unknown how long these cars have been here and how many of them are here due to the alarming rise in car thefts happening citywide. We saw this Hyundai without tags being towed into the front of Baltimore's main impound facility today, located off Pulaski Highway. Other tow trucks coming and going, some idling nearby with a vehicle to add to the collection. This as victims have been sharing their stories for months about the real-life impacts of having a car stolen in Baltimore City.
Well, I was so upset. At first when I found out, I was trying to believe that I had parked somewhere else and that the glass didn't belong to my car.
Those stolen cars sometimes totaled, needing to be replaced.
It did take multiple days where I had to take hours off in the middle of the day just to take care of something, whether it be paperwork or going to the impound and waiting in line with the whole Baltimore public that was also waiting for their cars.
Fox 45 News starting to look into what happens to those cars after thieves dump or ditch them.
In the impound, the Baltimore City impound lot, if you do visit it, you'll notice that there's sections specifically for Hyundais and Kias that were smashed, and I'm just lucky that my vehicle wasn't one of those.
This Riverside Park woman spoke about her experience visiting the impound lot this summer, sharing pictures of her stolen Hyundai after being hot-wired and taken from outside her home. Her car packed in like a sardine, among other vehicles in impound. Today, Fox 45 News asking Baltimore police and the city's Department of Transportation how many stolen cars are at city impound lots right now. How long does it take for a stolen car to be released from impound? And are owners of stolen cars being asked to pay for those cars to be released? Now, we sent those questions to both Baltimore Police and the Department of Transportation about 10:15 this morning. As of this afternoon, those questions have not been even acknowledged, let alone answered. We're live in Baltimore tonight. Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Amy, thank you. If you have a story about a stolen car, we'd like to know about it. We want to hear. Just scan the QR code on your screen and tell us what happened, or send us an email to news@foxbaltimore.com.
Well, the cost of running Baltimore city government continues to increase despite the city's population declining. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost joins us live with some new reporting about the number of employees inside City Hall. Mackenzie?
Yeah, Mary, from 2013 to last year, the number of general government employees within Baltimore City increased nearly 20%. This comes as we know the population of the city continues to decline. These numbers come from the 2022 annual financial report, going through several different data points of employment and city government operations. We also know that the cost of running the general government operations is also increasing. And given what we know about concerns surrounding a lack of city services, a community activist we spoke with says that this really indicates Baltimoreans are not getting the full value of their tax dollars.
I don't think that residents are getting not even a bang for their buck. They're not even getting the services that they need. When we hire employees, we expect them to do the job. And I think it'd be very difficult to find people who at this time, residents, right, contractors, people who work with city government, who will tell you that they are finding it easy to work within the city government.
And Mackenzie, what is the mayor saying about this?
Well, we sent his office questions earlier today asking why the number of these employees are going up and if he has a message to Baltimore City residents. So far, we haven't gotten a response. But we know that this isn't the first time that there have been concerns about the expansion of city government, or we saw this earlier with another city agency, especially when it comes to long-term funding for it. We'll have more details on that coming up at 5. We're live in the newsroom. Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Thank you, Mackenzie. They didn't know the bus was canceled until after school started. Frustration from parents in Howard County who say a change to school start times isn't fixing their bus problems.
Even at the best city schools, only 11% of students are meeting math standards. Project Baltimore uncovering alarming test scores in the Baltimore City school system.
Thousands of auto workers getting laid off less than a week into the UAW strike. I'm Autral Nashar with more on the economic impact.
Making headlines, this is a live look at Capitol Hill right now. Today, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is trying to avoid a government shutdown. He's trying to pass a stopgap funding bill at a cost of nearly $1.5 trillion. It includes border funding, but no new aid for Ukraine. That move is not likely to pass the Senate, placing McCarthy back where he started. But if the House Speaker works with Democrats to pass the bill, it could cause him to lose the support of more hardline conservatives.
Now, if Republican moderates want to go team up with Democrats and sign a discharge petition to take over the floor with Democrats, well, they'll be signing their own political death warrant.
Congressman Gates is threatening to oust McCarthy from leadership if he works with Democrats. A major sticking point in budget negotiations is the debate over whether the U.S. should continue to help Ukraine in its fight against Russia. Chief political correspondent Scott Thuman taking a closer look at the debate over supporting Ukraine.
With hat in hand, Ukraine's president on Capitol Hill asking for more support in the no-end-in-sight war against Russia. But lawmakers less enthusiastic than a year ago.
I will not consent to any expedited passage of any spending bill that provides any more American aid to Ukraine. It's as if no one has noticed that we have no extra money to send to Ukraine.
Is Zelensky elected to Congress? Is he our president? I don't think I have to commit anything. I have questions for him. Where's the accountability on the money we already spent? What is the plan for victory? I think that's what the American public wants to know.
And the belt tightening even more, with Congress facing a potential government shutdown at the end of the month, burdened by a national debt of $33 trillion and growing. 55% of Americans say it's time to stop giving funds to Ukraine.
If we were to have a government shutdown or to pass a CR with no Ukraine aid, that the effect on Ukraine would be very quick and devastating. We cannot let Putin win. Without aid, Ukraine could run the very strong risk of being defeated.
Possibly encouraging Russia to invade other neighbors and embolden China's spread too. It has been a whirlwind tour for Zelensky in New York at the United Nations this week, trying to shore up support from other world leaders who may be determined to defeat Vladimir Putin, but also weary of the costs.
We must act united to defeat the aggressor.
Now hoping Washington, above most, will help him do that. On Capitol Hill, I'm Scott Thuman.
All right, time to talk about our weather. It is going to be ominous here for the next couple of days with this storm. Are we calling it a tropical depression?
It's a potential tropical cyclone. It's something the National Hurricane Center usually kind of puts out there when they're expecting a tropical depression or subtropical depression to form, and they start tracking it as they would a hurricane. So let's go ahead and take a look. We're in the early stages here, but things are beginning to come together for a very, very messy weekend, especially Saturday night into early Sunday. Our storm moves in Friday night. There's heavy rain potential. Gusty winds could be 30, maybe even up to about 45 miles an hour in gusts, especially over the water. Even places like Ocean City, they are under tropical storm watches and warnings at this point, and also a coastal flooding potential out of this as well. There's that tropical storm warning that I was mentioning, Worcester County out down toward the ocean. So any beach plans, I'd probably cancel those this weekend, especially Saturday night. Going to be really rough. That goes all the way down south toward Charleston in South Carolina. There's the rain that's just beginning to develop with this thing. And brand new, it is potential tropical cyclone number 16. Winds now at 35 miles an hour. It is moving its way off to the north gradually at about 5 to 10, and eventually makes that push right towards the Carolina coast, moves inland, so that should help to quell some of the tropical aspect of this as we head into late Friday, early Saturday. But then still, as potentially almost kind of nor'easter or tropical depression type of system, will move real close to the bay and then arc eastbound as we head into the late weekend, early next week. And all in the process could put down 1 to 2+ inches of rain. Again, those winds could be gusting maybe at least 30, 45 miles an hour. And then also on top of that, with some of those winds with an easterly component. We've got a coastal flood watch that's in effect. This just for Anne Arundel County right now. But if wind directions change, that could be expanded. But especially those flood-prone places like Annapolis could have some problems out of this one, a little larger than their usual tidal flooding that they see. All right, for now it is dry. There's our system down to the south, all the rain getting going, and eventually we're going to peg that with a low pressure system, which is going to move north and cause, again, issues here for this weekend. We're going to have to stay weather alert here on Saturday. 76, mostly cloudy skies now on the Toyota Eastern Harbor Skycam. Here's the approach of the weather maker, and there is our rain as we head into Saturday. Really all day Saturday, a washout Saturday night, potentially raining on and off all night, and then even into Sunday, it looks like a mess, especially Sunday morning. Then there's more that's out in the tropics, but we're going to get to that a little later. We've really filled our time. 77, mostly cloudy skies for Friday. Worst of the weather Friday night, Saturday night, ending Sunday, and much better into early next week. Again, we're going to be on top of this possible developing tropical storm situation.
Jonathan, thank you. Howard County still failing to get kids to school on time. Parents demanding answers tonight as students are left stranded due to busing failures.
A new trend in schooling where the size matters. The smaller, the better. We'll describe what micro schools is coming up.
The biggest trend in education might be downsizing. Micro schools have skyrocketed in popularity. The National Desk's Angela Brown explains why so many are jumping on the trend.
Microschooling is a tiny school, maybe 5 to 10 students in the entire school or up to 150. Some people call it a midpoint between homeschooling and traditional public school.
Working and being a dad is tough enough, but this father of 4 took on more.
So I started a microschool in my house in 2018. That was one of my kids and 6 of my friends' kids around my kitchen table.
Smith's kitchen table classroom evolved into Prinda, that offers a learning model for micro schools.
Micro schools are typically characterized by a lot of engagement, a lot of agency. Kids take ownership of their education. They're doing projects together. They're learning at their own pace, so it's highly personalized as well.
The National Microschooling Center keeps a running tab on its website saying up to 2 million children learn through microschools in the U.S.
So these microschools are taking place in, homes and churches, which are clearly unregulated.
Beth Lewis is the executive director of Save Our Schools Arizona. She's concerned about regulation and quality of education.
When you have folks who aren't trained to be teachers, who aren't certified, sitting in small pods of kids and being put in front of a computer all day, that doesn't amount to a quality, rigorous academic experience for children.
The Conversation is reporting the cost to attend a micro school varies, but it could cost anywhere between $4,000 and $25,000. Reporting in Washington, D.C., I'm Angela Brown.
Hundreds of billions of dollars in COVID funds stolen. A taxpayer advocate breaks down the lingering impact of pandemic fraud. A change to school start times didn't stop one bus route from getting canceled this morning. The growing frustration from Howard County parents.
Why did it take until after school had started for them to realize that a bus is not coming? That's not clear.
Despite new school start times taking effect across Howard County this week, some parents say those bus problems persist.
And today, at least one bus canceled without warning, while others dropped students off before the school doors were even open.
Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor spoke with frustrated parents who are demanding answers from the school system. Rebecca?
Yeah, well, the district says that they are seeing widespread improvements to buses coming to pick up kids early and dropping them off on time as well. Parents that we spoke with, they're still not entirely satisfied. Specifically, one particular instance this morning, one bus that was supposed to drop high schoolers off here to Centennial High School. We're told that bus never showed. Instead, parents were sent a notice telling them to make alternate arrangements. It was sent at 7:54 this morning. That's 4 minutes after the school day had already started. On social media, other parents claim the earlier bus routes have caused their children to be dropped off before the school doors are even opened, and some
and in some cases, children were allegedly left outside unsupervised. We spoke with one parent who's concerned the start times aren't enough to solve issues stemming from Zoom Transportation, the district's new out-of-state bus contractor.
So it's not clear to me that change on Wednesday was helpful, and we're still having bus problems. So we clearly still need to find solutions and ways to make this work for the community.
Now, the school system was not able to confirm or deny if children were dropped off early or left alone at their schools this morning, but they do say moving forward, bus drivers have been told to keep kids on the bus until someone is available to watch them. As for the last-minute cancellation, the district says it's still working to understand what happened there. However, Zoom, a spokesperson for them, said that it was an isolated dispatch issue. Now, parents tell me they plan to take their continued concerns to the school board meeting. One is happening this evening. We're told there is room for public comment coming up at 7. Reporting live in Howard County, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Thank you, Rebecca. If your family experiences any issues with school bus service, we'd like to hear about it. Send any information in pictures or videos to news@foxbaltimore.com.
More stunning findings by our Project Baltimore team after Fox 45 News obtained unredacted state test scores for every school in Baltimore City.
Now, these results have not yet been released to the public, but Chris Papps has been analyzing them. And what he discovered is hard to believe, even at the highest performing schools in the city.
When it comes to the most recent Maryland state test scores,
I can't tell you how horrible that is.
There's a consensus.
Parents, guardians, supporters need to be outraged.
What Project Baltimore discovered in these unredacted test results is a problem.
Do you find it acceptable that there's 13 high schools in Baltimore City with no students proficient in math?
No. At 13 Baltimore City high schools, not a single student who took the 2023 math exam in the spring scored proficient. Not one.
It's sad and it's disheartening because today, more than ever, the school system has the money and the resources.
We obviously are not doing enough.
This is when people get fired.
Project Baltimore made the discovery after a source gave us the unredacted test scores for every school in Baltimore City. The data has not yet been released to the public, but we didn't just find 13 city high schools with 0 students who tested proficient in math. We also looked at the city's top schools, and what we discovered there may be just as alarming. According to the state test results, these are Baltimore's 5 top performing high schools in terms of math proficiency. At these schools, a combined 809 students took the state math test in the spring. 92 students tested proficient, meaning a total of about 11% of students are proficient in math at the best high schools in Baltimore. When Maryland public school students take the state test, their scores place them in one of 4 categories. Level 1 is beginning, all the way up to level 4, distinguished. Of the 92 students who tested proficient in math at the 5 best Baltimore City high schools, all 92 tested into level 3. There were no level 4s. In fact, there was not one high school student in the entire city in math who achieved the highest level of proficiency. City School CEO Dr. Sonia Santelises last year earned $445,000 in total compensation.
And I will just continue to say,
of Maryland's 24 public school systems, she's the highest earning leader. And since 2016, she's been leading the state's lowest performing district.
If I were mayor right now.
Sheila Dixon, a Democrat candidate for mayor of Baltimore, says she's seen enough. She has already called for the CEO of city schools to resign. Tuesday morning, she appeared on Fox 45 News, calling for more accountability.
We've got to have answers, and we can't just get a press release from the school system saying that we're working on it.
City schools will not do an interview with Fox 45 to give the public answers. But the district did explain in a statement that in 7 of 8 grade levels, math proficiencies in spring 2023 did increase from the previous year. The statement went on to say, "We acknowledge that some of our high school students continue to experience challenges in math, following the pandemic.
One singular person is never the solution or the single problem.
While some city leaders are calling for Santelises to resign, others, like State Senate President Bill Ferguson, are standing by her.
I have a great deal of faith in Dr. Santelises. She is incredibly thoughtful.
Ferguson told Fox 45 that education is a continuum, and he doesn't hold any one person accountable because he says if a student is not performing in high school, that likely means the student didn't receive enough support in elementary or middle school. But it's worth pointing out Dr. Santelises was in charge of city schools when these high school students were in elementary school. She's now been the CEO for more than 7 years. A 10th grader today was in 3rd grade when she took over.
Obviously, we have to have unbelievable urgency to it's not acceptable where we are, but that doesn't mean that the entire system is broken.
We need to hold the school CEO and the administration accountable.
I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
Live to City Hall now, where Acting Commissioner Richard Worley's confirmation hearing is about to get underway. The acting commissioner took over from Michael Harrison after his sudden resignation earlier this year. Worley has served as a member of the Baltimore Police Department for decades, working his way from a beat cop all the way up to the department's top position. Now, also tonight, the confirmation hearing for Acting Fire Chief James Wallace. This morning, Fox 45 spoke with a spokesperson from the Government Accountability Group, Peace, about what Baltimore residents hope to hear from the confirmation hearings.
The city's Board of Estimates chooses to delay its vote for the salaries of both the fire department and police department's top positions. BOE officials stating the delay is for council members first to approve the acting police commissioner Richard Worley and Chief James Wallace. Both men will go in front of the council tonight, and local community group Peace is asking the council to listen to residents' concerns, get answers to their questions, and not just what gets the politicians screen time. Spokesperson for Peace, Uripsy Morgan, says the sense of safety and seeing police officers goes beyond statistics.
If a resident doesn't feel safe walking outside, walking their dog, walking to their car, whether it's because of a murder or a carjacking, they still don't feel safe, and that's an important note.
Richard Worley, though, came in and there was a delay in the August meeting and pushed back until tonight because it happened right after the mass shooting that involved youth, too. Do you think that will play a factor here for council members tonight, asking him before he even goes in front of the BOE for his $285,000 salary?
That is a huge salary, and yes, I do think that it's going to play a role in this, because I can tell you in the community members that we have talked with, it still is in their mind, and largely because you're talking about young people, right? You're talking about teenagers whose lives were affected in this and whose lives were lost in this, and people want to know what is being done, what is going to be done, and that also means what punishments, right? Because as adults, as parents, we recognize that sometimes the best way to correct a child is to punish a child. That's not, vindictive. That is to put them on the right path, and a lot of residents are saying, we want our children on the right path. If we can't get help from the police department and the government, then where can we get help?
Now, Morgan says she hopes council members ask Worley what he is going to do to make sure there is more police presence on the streets throughout the city. She says that is the biggest concern for residents across Baltimore when she hosts her town halls. The confirmation hearing starts tonight at 5 for Worley. Tom Rogers, Fox 45 News.
COVID hospitalizations are up across the nation as health officials are working to stop another potential spike in cases. More than 20,000 people are hospitalized with the virus across the country. To help slow the spread, the White House is spending $600 million to create more at-home test kits. You can claim those tests by going to covidtest.gov.
Public health officials are also urging people to protect themselves by getting the most recent vaccines.
To be considered up to date, everyone 6 months of age or older should get at least one dose of the new version of the vaccine.
This is just like what we do with the flu shot. Every year, the flu shot changes a little bit, but it's trying to match the circulating strains with the vaccine.
Well, since the start of the pandemic, fraudsters have been working to steal COVID relief money. A new estimate says more than $100 billion in unemployment fraud has been collected by scammers. This morning, Fox 45 News spoke with the taxpayer advocate about just how much money was taken.
And it seems like every few months we see a larger number, whether it's the small business loans, whether it's unemployment fraud. That's why I think we will never know the true extent of waste, fraud, and abuse and COVID money.
Williams went on to say an inspector general could have been appointed to prevent some of that fraud. To watch the full interview, head to our website, foxbaltimore.com. Sending soldiers to stop the surge, the latest effort to slow a massive wave of illegal border crossings.
Thousands of auto workers getting laid off less than a week into the UAW strike. I'm Atra El-Nashar with more on the economic impact.
And if you're planning ahead toward your weekend, well, potential tropical cyclone number 16 may have something to say about that. Take a look Saturday into Sunday, rain, embedded thunderstorms, wind, even some coastal flooding. I'm going to let you know how bad it's going to be in your neighborhood. We're tracking it hour by hour in my Weather Authority forecast.
Why you out here? More money, better benefits, shorter work hours, better life.
United Auto Workers and the big three automakers are up against a deadline of noon on Friday to make progress in their contract negotiations. If they don't, the union plans to send more workers on strike. National correspondent Atra El-Nashar reports on the strike's economic impact already being felt by thousands.
More than 2,000 General Motors and Stellantis workers have been told they're out of a job for now due to the United Auto Workers strike disrupting the supply chain. Ford laid off 600 last week. This from targeted strikes at just 3 plants. More could soon be affected.
We're going to keep hitting the company where we need to, when we need to.
It's not just the big 3 automakers feeling the brunt. LM Manufacturing, which makes seats for Ford, temporarily laid off 650 workers in Detroit. Glenn Stevens, executive director of the state industry group, Mish Auto, spoke with suppliers Wednesday night.
They're already looking at how do we preserve cash and cut back. And that includes salary workforce. The supply base is very fragile and things are tenuous right now.
He says the tight labor market fuels their biggest concern.
If you have to let go workforce or you have to lay workforce off, you might not get them back because they have other options.
The strike even has the attention of the Federal Reserve. Chair Jerome Powell says it could affect economic output and inflation.
But that's really going to depend on how broad it is and how long it's sustained for. And then it also depends on how quickly production can make up for lost production.
Anderson Economic Group estimates a 10-day strike could cost the economy $5 billion. The White House no longer sending 2 administration officials to Detroit to help in negotiations. Director of Labor Studies at Cornell University, Art Wheaton, says it's clear why neither side wanted their involvement.
So under the Private Sector National Labor Relations Act for the auto workers, there is no role for the president or Congress at the bargaining table.
When asked about this on Thursday, the White House noted the president's been in contact with each of the parties in recent weeks and sees the fact that they're all still negotiating as a positive. In Washington, I'm Atrel Nashar.
Let's take a look at what's going on right now in your Fox 45 Fox Box. 800 more troops are being sent to the southern border. They'll be joining the 2,500 soldiers already there. This after the mayor of Eagle Pass, Texas, signed emergency declaration for a, quote, severe undocumented immigrant surge. Alex Murdaugh has pled guilty for financial crimes. The former South Carolina lawyer admits to stealing $9 million from clients. He now has to pay back the money he stole. Meanwhile, he faces life in prison for killing his wife and son. In preparation for the 2024 elections, voting equipment vendors are letting cybersecurity researchers break into their systems. They're doing it as a way to test voting security and make needed changes before voters hit the polls. It comes after years of unfounded conspiracy theories surrounding the legitimacy of similar voting machines in the 2020 election. Rupert Murdoch is stepping down as the chairman of Fox. Murdoch says he will officially make that transition in November. His son will take his place as the sole chairman. Be the first to know about breaking news by signing up for News on the Go. Go to foxbaltimore.com and click on Mobile Alert Sign Up under the Station tab. You can also download the Fox 45 app for your smartphone. Search WBFF in your app store. Well, a tropical disturbance in the Atlantic Ocean has been upgraded to a potential cyclone. It would be the 16th named storm of the season. It has maximum sustained winds of 35 miles an hour. It has a 60% chance of strengthening to a tropical storm or hurricane over the next 2 days. Regardless of the development, it will bring tropical storm force winds, heavy rain, and coastal flooding to the mid-Atlantic tomorrow into the weekend.
Yeah, and Kai, our main impacts here are going to be tomorrow night beginning, and then it looks like all the way through Saturday night, potentially into Sunday morning. So get ready. Next weather makers loading up, and this could be a big one. Heavy rain potential. This is going to, again, be really solidifying here Saturday night, Sunday morning. No flood watches out at this point. It has been actually kind of dry for most of us, except for localized downpours that we've seen over the past few weeks. So hopefully we can handle it, but we'll see if flood watch is eventually issued. Also, gusty winds. That could be a problem, especially the southern bay. Could see some winds 45, 50 miles an hour around the waters there. Otherwise, winds up to about 30 or so here in Baltimore, and some coastal flooding potential possible as well. So a tropical storm warning now in effect for Worcester County, Maryland. So that includes Ocean City. So beach plans, I'd think twice on those. I'd probably cancel those or move those to another time. This weekend is not going to be a good time to be at the beach with coastal flooding, high winds and rain. And there is our potential tropical cyclone number 16 that is forming somewhere right along or just off of the Florida coastline, consolidating gradually. And it looks like this will likely become some sort of subtropical, maybe, or tropical depression. So kind of a hybrid system between tropical, subtropical, or tropical, non-tropical, or a fully tropical system for a time as it makes its push up towards the eastern Carolina coastline. The good news is with tropical systems, when they hit land and move over land, they begin to weaken. So it is going to spend some time over the eastern Carolinas sometime early this weekend as the impacts work in here. So it'll be on the decreasing trend, but still some pretty good rains of 1 to maybe 2+ inches. There will be some wind as well likely with this. Let's take a look at our GFS wind speeds here. Some of these reds down south of us, that could be up to 50-mile-an-hour winds around St. Mary's County. But around here, anywhere between, again, 20, 35, maybe locally 45 miles an hour. The closer you get to the water, the higher the winds are going to be, especially later Saturday into Sunday morning, and then decreasing during the day on Sunday. And also a coastal flood watch is in effect for high tides, especially in Anne Arundel County. So that could be a little worse than our typical tidal flooding that we see. For now, it's dry, but there's all the rain forming with that. Yep, there it is, the L on the map now. That's our storm system beginning to get going. You take a look at the Bay Bridge. This is going to be a much different picture over the weekend. Right now, 76, mostly cloudy skies. Clouds will continue to gradually increase the next 24 hours. Through the day on Friday, getting cloudier, and there's your rain Friday night, and just an absolute washout, it appears, here during the day on Saturday. Rain, drizzle, wind all day long. So weather alert for Saturday. Okay day for tomorrow to prepare. So gradually getting better here on Sunday. Still breezy and showery, and then it looks like it's dry for much of next week.
Jonathan, thank you. Put the power of the Weather Authority Storm Center in your hands. Download the free WBFF Weather Authority app for your smartphone. Use our powerful Doppler radar to follow storms to your street. Go to your app store and search WBFF to get started. Coming up at 5 o'clock on Fox 45, a confirmation hearing is underway at City Hall with Acting Police Commissioner Richard Worley on the hot seat. And Artscape is back. We take an early look at what you can expect from the festival's return this weekend. Artscape returns to Baltimore this weekend. The festival, based in North Baltimore, will have food, art, live music, and so much more. Art, of course. This morning, Be More Lifestyle's Mark Clark spoke with organizers about all things Artscape.
You know, it's a tradition that makes the city unique and really celebrates the creative class here, and I'm excited to just bring it back. I can't wait for my kids to experience it, nowadays, and so I'm really excited, and I hope you all come down and bring the children, bring the family. It's going to be fun.
Well, it's all taking place starting tomorrow. For more information on Artscape, head to our website, foxbaltimore.com.
And if you have plans of being on the water this weekend, I would get other plans. Take a look here. We've got a gale watch in effect with our developing potential tropical cyclone number 16 that is going to be moving in here Saturday and Saturday night. Temperatures only going to be in the 60s. It's going to be a dangerous day on the water. In fact, some waves 2 to 3 feet and waves along with winds that could be up to about 30 knots. You get south, we could be up to 50-mile-an-hour winds around St. Mary's County and Lower Bay. And around here for Earthscape, I wish I had some better news, folks, but it doesn't look great here on Saturday. A wind-whipped rain. Again, those winds up to 30 miles an hour with 69 degrees. Sunday, probably the better of the 2 days. Still some residual showers, breezy with highs in the low 70s.
Well, that Powerball jackpot keeps getting bigger. The lottery says the top prize is now an estimated $725 million. The one-time cash payout for the jackpot, roughly $345.7 million. The next drawing is Saturday night. Coming up on Fox 45 News at 5 o'clock, as car thefts rise in Baltimore, we hear from more impacted residents, whether their car has been stolen or not. Plus, a call for accountability in Howard County as school start times and bus routes continue to cause confusion for students and parents. A hearing gets underway right now at City Hall surrounding two major leaders. We'll bring you the latest developments.
Carjackings and auto theft surging across Maryland. The latest incident involving multiple juveniles as Fox 45 News demands solutions.
Plus, as residents flock out of Baltimore City, a number of employees at City Hall grows. We break down the numbers and just how much it's costing taxpayers.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 5.
Looking live right now inside City Hall, we see State's Attorney Ivan Bates speaking with someone for the future of Baltimore City. Both the police department and the fire department could make a major step in locking in permanent leadership tonight. Thank you for staying with us. I'm Mary Bubala.
And I'm Kai Jackson. That confirmation hearing for both the acting police commissioner, Richard Worley, and acting fire chief, James Wallace, are underway.
That's right. Yesterday, Baltimore's Board of Estimates put the brakes on new contracts for both Worley and acting fire chief James Wallace. They will wait to vote on those contracts until after tonight's hearings.
For Worley, the recent uptick in juvenile crime in Baltimore is expected to be a topic of conversation. BPD's response to the Brooklyn Day mass shooting in July, which Worley has said was a failure, could also come up.
The council is also considering the confirmation of acting Fire Chief James Wallace. Mayor Scott nominated him to lead the department in July. He's been with the department for more than 30 years and follows Chief Niles Ford, who stepped down late last year following a scathing report on the department.
Worley's hearing is getting underway. Wallace's hearing is scheduled for 6:30. Fox 45 News will have updates on both hearings throughout the evening. You can follow us on air and online at foxbaltimore.com.
And we are following breaking news tonight. 2 separate shootings in West Baltimore. An 18-year-old and a 49-year-old were shot around 2 this afternoon on West Hoffman Street. Both are in stable condition. About 40 minutes later, a 24-year-old and a 30-year-old were shot on Mosier Street. They are also in stable condition. Anybody with information in either of these shootings asked to call Metro Crime Stoppers. That number on your screen, 1-866-7-LOCK-UP. And continuing coverage tonight, car thefts are surging across Maryland. This year alone, more than 7,700 cars have been stolen in Baltimore City. The main targets, Hyundais and Kias. And listen to this, between the 9th and the 16th of the month, 292 cars were taken. That's more than 41 thefts a day.
And it's not just in the city. According to Anne Arundel County Police, a group of armed young people carjacked a woman last night.
And we have live team coverage beginning with Vincent Hill and that latest brazen act that started in the county, ended in the city. Vincent joins us live with what we're learning. Vincent?
Yeah, Kai and Mary, it happened around 7:30 in this busy parking lot. Now, according to Anne Arundel Police, the female says she was outside her car when she said she was approached by several juveniles. Now, they demanded money and a ride to Baltimore City. But when she refused, police say the group forced her into the car at knife point and made her drive to a location somewhere in Baltimore City. That's when this carjacking took a wrong turn, so to speak, for the suspects, when the victim decided to fight back.
When she took that knife out, the other individuals just got out of the car. The suspect saw the knife and got out of the car immediately.
Now, neither the victim or the suspect were hurt in this case. Kai and Mary?
And Vincent, did the victim describe how old the suspects were?
I can't hear anything.
Did he describe how old the suspects were?
Yeah, so according to Anne Arundel Police, the youngest victim is not even a 4th grader. Take a listen.
The woman said there were 4 or 5 young men aged from what she believed was 9 years old to 14 years old. She can't be sure, but that's what she thought their age was.
Now, according to Anne Arundel Police, the victim was able to get away with her car. Now, the suspects face several charges if caught, including abduction. For now, we're live in Glen Burnie. Vincent Hill, Fox 45 News.
All right, Vincent, thank you. And as auto thefts spike, experts say insurance rates are following.
That's right. Fox 45's Alexa Asheville joins us live in studio with the financial impact some of these victims are experiencing. Alexa?
Okay, Mary, some drivers are already paying hundreds of dollars for car insurance. Those rates are going up. On top of that, imagine having a plan that actually doesn't cover auto theft, no coverage at all, or a hefty deductible. Countless victims are finding themselves out thousands of dollars, and some still without a car.
Victim. They just hopped out the car and just stole it.
After victim.
All the windows were broken.
After victim.
The dude sped off in my car.
And each one feeling the financial impact. The number of auto thefts are spiking across the country. Here in Baltimore by more than 220% compared to this time last year. So far this year, statistics show there have been more than 7,700 auto thefts reported across the city. That averages out to about 29 thefts a day, or more than 1 car an hour.
It's frustrating, you know, I have to go through all this other extra financial situations with this.
Including insurance. Those without comprehensive auto insurance or any insurance are finding themselves out thousands of dollars because the policy doesn't cover auto theft. A local insurance broker weighs in.
Unfortunately, in a lot of cases, some of our clients do only have liability. So in those cases, they don't have coverage. Some of the time the vehicles are recovered. Other times the vehicles are involved in accidents or just never recovered.
But even those with a policy that covers auto theft are feeling the pinch. There's the cost of your deductible, what you pay out of pocket before insurance covers its portion. And simply filing a claim can cause your premium to go up. Over the phone, one woman says she's opting to pay out of pocket after suspects targeted her car here in the city.
We just ended up having to pay the money out the pocket to get the window fixed. We still haven't got the ignition fixed because if we report it to our car insurance, it's like our premium is going to go up, even though it's not even our fault.
Nationwide, experts say insurance rates are rising by upwards of 20%, mostly due to the increased cost of living, but also due to this dramatic spike in auto thefts. And if you live in Baltimore City, experts say drivers, on average, were already paying about 10% more to have their car insured compared to neighboring counties.
It definitely is impacting our clients. Some people are even selling their cars because they can't afford their insurance at this point. And the ones that do still have insurance, I mean, they are paying a lot more than they were even just a year or 2 years ago.
Unfortunately, experts don't see rates going down anytime soon, but warn having no coverage at all is not the solution. Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Alexa, thank you. With nearly 8,000 cars stolen so far this year, what happens to those cars and where do they end up once they're dumped by the thieves? Tonight, Fox 45's Amy Simpson investigating for us. She joins us live with what she's learning. Amy?
Well, Mary, as you can imagine, there is not a one-size-fits-all answer to those questions, but in some cases, cars that are stolen and recovered do end up in the city's impound facility. Today, we took our cameras to check out the city's main impound facility. It's located in East Baltimore, just off of Pulaski Highway, and rows upon rows of cars could be seen through the trees. The parking lot where those cars are stored is only visible from a ramp onto I-895 North. It's unknown how long these cars have been here and how many of them are there due to the alarming rise in car thefts citywide. Now, earlier this month, a Baltimore City woman shared her experience after her Hyundai was stolen in July. She spoke about her visit to the impound lot after her stolen car was found dumped in White Marsh.
It did take multiple days where I had to take hours off in the middle of the day just to take care of something, whether it be paperwork or going to the impound and waiting in line with the whole Baltimore public that was also waiting for their cars. In the impound, the Baltimore City impound lot, if you do visit it, you'll notice that there's like sections specifically for Hyundais and Kias that were smashed, and I'm just lucky that my vehicle wasn't one of those.
And as we look to investigate the impact of more than 7,700 auto thefts in the city so far this year, today we asked both Baltimore Police and the city's Department of Transportation how many stolen cars are at city impound lots right now. How long does it take for a stolen car to be released from impound? And are owners of stolen cars being asked to pay for those vehicles to be released? Now, we did send those questions about 10:15 this morning to both Baltimore Police and the city's Department of Transportation. And as of this evening, not only have those questions not been acknowledged, they've also not been answered. We're live in Baltimore City. Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Amy, thank you. If you have a story about a stolen car or know somebody who's been impacted by a spike in auto thefts, we want to hear about it. Scan that QR code right there on your screen. Tell us what happened or send us an email to news@foxbaltimore.com.
The cost of running Baltimore City government continues to increase despite the city's population declining.
That's right. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost joins us live with some new reporting about the number of employees inside City Hall. Mackenzie?
Yeah, Mary Kai, from 2013 to 2022, the number of general government employees seems to have increased nearly 20%. But according to the mayor's office, that's not the whole story. The 2022 annual financial report details employment data in Baltimore City. Taking a deeper dive, you'll find the number of city employees rising, even with people leaving Baltimore. According to the report, 1,674 people were on the city's payroll as general government workers in 2013. Last year, that number was 2,005. That's just under a 20% increase, even though the population as of July 1st of 2022, more than 52,000 people fewer than in 2013. The cost for general government increasing almost 45% in the same time frame, despite general government revenues increasing only 8%.
And I don't think that residents are getting not even a bang for their buck. They're not even getting the services that they need.
Eurypsy Morgan, a community activist, says given the city's track record with subpar city services, Baltimoreans aren't seeing the full potential of their tax dollars.
When we hire employees, we expect them to do the job. And I think it'd be very difficult to find people who at this time, residents, right, contractors, people who work with city government, who will tell you that they are finding it easy to work within the city government.
This isn't the first time City Hall expansion raised concerns.
There's been exponential growth within that agency.
The mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement grew from inception in 2020 to 45 employees now, with most of the funding for Monzi stemming from one-time federal COVID dollars.
It's not a sustainable funding source, so that functionality that's being built up, we're going to have to find a way to fund that in the future. So that's something that's definitely of concern.
Fox 45 News questioning Mayor Brandon Scott about why the number of city employees seems to be increasing. The mayor's office pushing back on the premise that City Hall is growing, telling Fox 45 News in a statement the number of all government employees is down to 13,747 compared to the 14,764 in 2013. But again, the number of general government employees remains higher than it did nearly a decade ago. Now, this report also details some of the economic numbers and employment data, including the largest employers that are currently operating in Baltimore City. You can find that information and this story on our website at foxbaltimore.com. We're live in the newsroom. Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
All right, here we go. We are tracking our next weather maker, and it could be a big one that's coming our way. This is potential tropical cyclone number 16. It's a mouthful, but basically what it's going to mean for us is that we could be seeing some high winds as well as some heavy rain and maybe even some coastal flooding. Tropical storm warnings, they're out as close to us as Ocean City in Worcester County, Maryland. So down the ocean, not a good place to be into this weekend. And there's a storm forming right around the Florida coastline. And here we go. Could be a 60-mile-an-hour storm in terms of winds as it makes its way towards the Carolinas, and then could douse us with rain over the weekend and plenty of wind as well. I'm going to let you know how long the effects are going to last and if you'll be able to salvage any of your weekend. That's coming up in my Weather Authority forecast.
Still ahead, school bus troubles continue in Howard County after another bus route is canceled. Frustrated parents are talking about it.
But first, anticipation building among Ravens fans ahead of this week's matchup against the Colts. Morgan Atsit is breaking down the highlights and the injuries from Owings Mills.
For the second consecutive week on game day, injuries are going to be a problem for the Ravens. They were down 4 starters in their win at Cincinnati, and they could be doubling down on that number week 3 at home this Sunday against the Colts. The Ravens were down 7 players at practice today, but they did get one of them back, and edge rusher Jadeveon Clowney, who missed yesterday's practice with an illness. That is big for this Ravens defense, who's preparing for 2 quarterbacks, because the Ravens are not alone in the injury department. Rookie starter for Indianapolis, Anthony Richardson, is in the concussion protocol and has not practiced all week.
Yeah, he's super talented, and the reason he was drafted so high, and lucky for us, we go against somebody who can run and throw pretty well too every single day in practice with Lamar. So I think that prepares us, and we've been preparing all camp for it.
They get checks just like we get checks in the NFL, and regardless of who's out there, they're going to come try to embarrass you. And my mindset, I'm trying to embarrass them as well. So I think it's going to be a great game. I'm very excited for them, whoever it is, Minshew or number 5, the rookie, Richardson or whatever. So I think it'll be an amazing opportunity for our defense just to prove another opportunity, exactly what we have. But, you know, we're still preparing early in the week, and we look forward to it on Sunday.
The Ravens defense may prefer to see a rookie quarterback, but Richardson is tied at the top of the league for rushing touchdowns. The Ravens may be better off facing his backup, veteran Gardner Minshew. Reporting in Owings Mills, I'm Morgan Adsett for Sports Unlimited.
Well, we are also following the Orioles tonight. They're in Cleveland, where they will start a 4-game series against the Guardians. It comes after the O's suffered a loss last night against the Astros, but it does not knock them out of the running to win the AL East. As for tonight's game, you can watch the O's take on the Guardians here on Fox 45. Our coverage starts at 7. Well, taking a live look over Camden Yards tonight, it has been a beautiful few fall-like days, but that's going to change. Let's bring in Chief Meteorologist Jonathan Myers with a look at how the weekend is going to play out. Rainy, for sure.
Yeah, we're going to have to stay weather alert into this weekend. We've got a weather alert day for Saturday now. We are going to pay for this nice weather, unfortunately, Saturday and maybe even Sunday now, it appears, although I think late Friday night, Saturday night going to be the worst of this. Heavy rain potential. Thankfully, we are running dry, at least over the past few months. Maybe this month we're actually a little above average over the airport. But since the beginning of the year, we are running a deficit. So we could use a little bit of rain. We don't need it all at once. We'll have to see if flood watches are issued. Gusty winds, those could be anywhere up to 50 miles an hour potentially over the lower bay, but around here 30 miles an hour, certainly not out of the question. Near the water, it could be closer to 45, and also coastal flooding potential as well. Tropical storm warnings as close as Ocean City and Worcester County, all the way down into the Outer Banks and really all the way down through South Carolina. This right here is what we're watching for the potential development of a tropical depression. Right now, it's called a potential tropical cyclone. Winds at 35 miles an hour. The circulation just not totally there yet, but it looks like it will come together. And by the time we're eyeing Saturday morning, this could be a 60-mile-an-hour potential subtropical kind of hybrid non-tropical system, or maybe even a purely tropical system moving towards the eastern Carolinas. Spend some time over land. That's good news for us. Weakens a bit, but then we get tons of rain. It looks like 1 to maybe 3 inches of rain Saturday on into Saturday night, and potentially some leftover showers as well on Sunday. Now the winds, take a look down south. This is going to be closest to the center as it's moving onshore. We could see winds 50 to 55 miles an hour around St. Mary's County. Around here, though, about say 30 miles an hour or so. Those should begin to waft off as we head into the day on Sunday, although rain still possible Sunday, and also a coastal flood watch for Anne Arundel County. For now, it's dry, but there's our system. The L is on the map, so that means the storm is beginning to get together. Bay Bridge looks good now. It's not going to look good this weekend. I'd plan away from the shore, away from the water. That's where things are really going to be bad for this weekend. Now, overnight tonight into early tomorrow, clouds, they will be thickening gradually, and the rain arrives by tomorrow night, shortly before midnight, and on and off rain, some of that heavy at times all the way into the day, on and off Saturday, and it looks like even into potentially Sunday, some scattered showers. Wind, rain Saturday, Sunday still showery, breezy, and then it dries out just in time for next work week.
Jonathan, thank you. Ukraine and U.S. leaders meeting to talk about more military aid. The concerns now surrounding the price tag of American taxpayer dollars.
A new immigration policy announcement out of the White House as the number of migrants at the southern border reaches one of the highest levels ever. I'm Christine Frizzau in Washington with the details.
Turning to the crisis at the border, a major change in policy from the Biden administration. Nearly 500,000 Venezuelans already in the United States will now be eligible for temporary protected status, which will allow them to live and work legally in this country for 18 months. National correspondent Christine Frizzau has details.
In the last few days, new dramatic measures taken at the southern border. One of Mexico's largest freight rail operators, Ferromex, has suspended service on 60 lines headed toward the United States after dozens of migrants were either killed or injured trying to hitch a ride. The Bridge of the Americas in El Paso temporarily shut down to cargo processing so that thousands of migrants can be processed. Border agents reporting the daily totals reaching 10,000 migrants encountered in a 24-hour period, one of the highest levels ever reported. The Biden administration also sending 800 active duty troops to the border. But in a new video, Texas Governor Greg Abbott is blaming the Biden administration for cutting razor wire, quote, opening the floodgates to illegal immigrants.
When we see Border Patrol agents cutting the concertina wire, that completely undermines what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is actually prevent illegal border crossings and stop them at the river.
Thousands of miles away in New York City, protests in the street after more than 100,000 migrants have arrived in recent months, mostly by bus, overwhelming city resources. Leaders now hopeful following the Biden administration's announcement 472,000 migrants from Venezuela will be given temporary protective status and get work permits immediately.
About 41% of the people in our shelters today are from Venezuela.
Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas attributing the decision to Venezuela's increased instability and conditions that prevent individuals from safely returning, but that it only applies to those who arrived on or before July 31st.
But Republicans say this new policy will simply be another incentive to make migrants come to the country if they think there's a chance they could stay. Meanwhile, political analysts tell me it will be this issue, the crisis at the southern border, that makes it most difficult for President Biden to win re-election. In Washington, I'm Christine Frizzau.
Coming up after the break, parents in Howard County coming together to demand accountability when it comes to school bus failures. Plus, a new voice calling for change when it comes to the juvenile justice laws in Maryland.
Why did it take until after school had started for them to realize that a bus is not coming? That's not clear.
Despite new school start times taking effect across Howard County this week, some parents say bus problems persist.
Yeah, today at least one bus canceled without any warning, while others dropped students off before the school doors were even open.
Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor spoke with frustrated parents who are demanding answers from the school system. She joins us live with the latest. Rebecca.
Yeah, Mary and Kai. Well, the district says they are starting to see widespread improvements to bus service since the implementation of those new start times. Parents that we spoke with say they are still not satisfied.
Yesterday was going to be a big day where things got solved.
The start to new school start times. Not driving the results some Howard County parents were hoping for.
And it didn't solve all the problems.
This morning, a Centennial High School Zoom bus suddenly canceled. Parents receiving this notice informing them to make alternate arrangements at 7:54 a.m., 4 minutes after the school day started.
So even if you drop everything and go to school, your child's going to be about 20 minutes late.
Corrine Happel says for the first time in weeks, her elementary age children finally making it to school without issue, although concerns over the Zoom app's tracking features remain.
I could see a little school bus on the screen moving around the community, and it hadn't even arrived at the school yet.
Other parents taking to social media claiming the earlier pickups causing their children to be dropped off before the school doors even open, and in some cases left unsupervised. The school system not able to confirm or deny if that occurred, but say moving forward, transportation providers have been advised to keep students on the bus until administrators can provide supervision. As for the last-minute cancellation, a Zoom spokesperson calling it an isolated dispatch issue. The spokesperson going on to say there is no driver shortage at this time. But even with more buses coming and going on time,
the public has lost trust.
Some parents worried the new schedules coming at the cost of their child's sleep schedules and parents' work schedules.
The Start Schools Later initiative is to allow children to get more sleep at night, and we're not achieving that. We went backwards.
Continued concerns parents, teachers, and school leaders.
We're all supposed to be on the same team for students and staff, but right now it doesn't feel like it.
I'm mad. I'm agitated, I'm frustrated.
Plan to air out at tonight's school board meeting.
We're still having bus problems, so we clearly still need to find solutions and ways to make this work for the community.
And for parents who want to make their voices heard at tonight's school board meeting, the public comment section will begin at 7 o'clock. Reporting live in Howard County, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Rebecca, thank you. Well, tonight, another call for change as Carroll County Sheriff Jim DeWeese demands action.
He says the General Assembly is dragging its feet on changing juvenile justice laws.
Fox 45's Vincent Hill shares his perspective.
Yeah, Sheriff DeWeese says what bothers him the most is that lawmakers believe this is a problem that can wait until January, something he says is a big mistake. Carroll County Sheriff Jim DeWeese sitting down with Fox 45 to address the juvenile crime crisis, a crisis he says he saw coming.
People that were on the front lines, like me, the sheriffs, the chiefs, the state's attorneys, we told them this is exactly what was going to happen. Our advice was that you're going to see a spike in juvenile crime, and it's only going to get progressively worse.
How has this affected your county and the crimes you've seen?
What takes place in Baltimore County and Baltimore City directly affects my jurisdiction.
Like stolen cars.
They're stealing them, coming out to our jurisdiction, committing the crime, and then they're going back to wherever they came from.
Last week, the Secretary of Juvenile Services, Vincent Schiraldi.
The council decided that the impact of formalizing cases on kids for nonviolent offenses was actually worse than just providing them with services.
Calling car thefts a property crime, comment that left some, including DeWeese, frustrated.
Talk to the nearly 7,000 people in Baltimore that have had that happen to them this year. They would say differently.
DeWeese also pushing back on Schiraldi's claim that juvenile crime is down overall across the state.
The goalposts have been moved, so the data is not there. And I think the crime statistics or the statistics that he's using to bolster his argument are disingenuous. It would be like legislature raising the speed limit to 100 miles per hour on interstate highways and then questioning why we're not writing more speeding tickets on the interstate.
Making a plea to lawmakers to make a change.
A mistake was made. Go back immediately, look at the legislation, and let's correct it. We'll work with you to correct it. If you don't work on this immediately, and you say we're going to look at it in January, and we're going to ask the governor to sign it in April, May, or June, and it's effective in July, or maybe October, the wake of victims is going to be tremendous.
That same plea coming from Baltimore City's FOP president, Clyde Boatwright, on Fox 45's Morning News.
We are collectively begging for our elected officials to do something about this crime crisis.
He's voicing his concern about the Juvenile Interrogation Protection Act, which keeps police from talking to any child until they have spoken with an attorney.
We have this barrier up that we can't speak. I mean, and that could mean someone's safety. You know, just the fact that there could be a gun laying somewhere, there could be another person in danger.
Boatwright says he was not invited to last week's hearing on juvenile crime, but is asking for a seat at the table when lawmakers meet again in November. And Sheriff DeWeese even making a plea to Governor Moore to work with law enforcement about real solutions to what seems to be a never-ending problem. Vincent Hill, Fox 45 News.
And it is not just law enforcement voicing concern. A dozen prosecutors across Maryland calling for changes to the juvenile justice system. Those prosecutors represent around 5 million people and nearly 82% of Maryland's population.
Well, despite those calls for change, Maryland House Speaker Adrian Jones and Senate President Bill Ferguson have been non-committal about changing the juvenile justice laws when Fox 45 News pressed them about it this week.
It feels like there's not a lot of urgency happening. Why is the General Assembly not moving quicker to get a handle on this before more people's lives are impacted by this?
Look, I push back to say that there's not urgency. It's something that I'm talking about with other members and my community every single day. It's probably the thing that keeps me up the most at night.
Should there be a special session to address the juvenile crime crisis right now?
This is something I will be discussing with my chairs. I don't want to be in the media and saying, oh, Speaker didn't talk to us. We're going to be having meetings.
Well, this isn't the first time Jones and Ferguson have balked when it comes to crime legislation. Governor Larry Hogan pushed two tough-on-crime bills for years, the Violent Firearms Offender Act and the Judicial Transparency Act. A watered-down version of the Transparency Act passed last year, but no version of the Violent Offender Firearms Act ever did. Now, that bill passed in the Senate twice, but never made it through the House. It didn't make it out of committee this year, and the Senate president told Fox 45 News he would not bring it up again unless Jones and the House took action first. Well, critics also say lawmakers dragged their feet when it came to a bill backed by City State's Attorney Ivan Bates. The language of that bill raises the maximum penalty for someone who's 21 or older with an illegal firearm was rolled into another bill. It passed just 2 days before the end of the legislative session.
As Vincent mentioned earlier, one group of lawmakers met to talk about the juvenile crime crisis last week, and they will meet again in November. Political analyst John Deedy says state lawmakers need to take action to address the juvenile crime problem instead of just talking about it.
What the leadership is doing in many times is expressing a sense of urgency with rhetoric. The action is going to be, what are they going to do in January? And frankly, right now, I think they are not sure how to deal with this as far as what to do. The clock is ticking. By the time the session meets in January, they have to have a plan in place, and a plan that, the governor will definitely get behind. And frankly, I think the governor should be doing more leading on this.
Well, Fox 45 News sent questions to Senate President Ferguson and House Speaker Jones asking, what legislative plans do you have to address the juvenile crime crisis? Why does it appear there's a lack of urgency to take action in this matter? How do you respond to community advocates who claim the General Assembly has blood on its hands in regard to juvenile crime? And why has the General Assembly to date ignored calls to change juvenile justice laws on the books? How do you respond to people who say this threatens the safety of 6.1 million Marylanders? We asked for a response by Friday night. So far, we haven't heard back.
When lawmakers meet in November, they will look to Juvenile Services Secretary Vincent Schiraldi for policy recommendations. Despite the calls for change, Schiraldi says children don't belong in the adult system.
You start to sort of think of themselves as little 12-year-old thugs, and they self-identify in ways that we really don't want them to. If they're under 13, we can provide them with services informally or the joy.
About 10 years ago, Schiraldi wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post saying he didn't believe anyone younger than 21 should be in the adult criminal justice system, and he stands by that statement in an interview with Fox 45 News. He also says parole and probation doesn't necessarily make communities safer. Fox 45 News spoke with Europsy Morgan, spokesperson for the community activist group Peace. She believes lawmakers will listen to Schiraldi and not police, prosecutors, and parents.
I think he, as the head of juvenile services, plays an incredibly important role. I mean, he's the captain, right? He's the quarterback. He's the one who's going to guide this organization in the direction that's going to go. There were already a lot of questions that were asked when his name first came up for an appointment from Governor Wes Moore, and whether or not his philosophy, his very progressive philosophy, matched with what we need, particularly in Baltimore.
House Speaker Jones and Senate President Ferguson are two of the most powerful lawmakers in Annapolis. If you want to talk with them about juvenile justice, we have their numbers and email addresses on their screen. You can also find their contact information on our website, foxbaltimore.com.
All right, we are tracking our latest weather maker, which has now become a potential tropical cyclone number 16, which means it's not quite there to becoming a tropical depression yet, but it probably will. There's a better chance than not. There's a tropical storm warning as close as southern Maryland, all the way back to portions of the lower eastern shore, just outside our area. down to Ocean City, including Worcester County, which is Ocean City. We've got some storm surge warnings, it appears, that have also just been issued in those same areas right along the coastline. Around here, it looks like our impacts start Friday night, lasting into Saturday, and Saturday night, potentially even still some leftover rain on Sunday with dying winds, but winds could be up to about 30-40 miles an hour. We could see some heavy rain, 1 to 3 inches of it, and also the potential of even 1 to 3 feet of storm surge coming up the bay, which would add on